Hey, what's up out there? This is Blue Star Nation. I am your fearless leader, Noah Sky. This is the first ever podcast. People, welcome to the beginning. So, what is Blue Star Nation? Who am I? What am I talking about? Well, this podcast is for 100% Dallas Cowboy talk, okay? So if you're a Redskins fan, if you're a fan of another team, I love that you're listening. But hey, man, let's be real. This is for the Cowboys fans out there. So, what are we talking about this week? Well, as I just stated, this is 100% Cowboys talk, with the exception of week number 1 and the playoffs and seasons. Week number 1, I'm going to give you my picks for the playoffs and the Super Bowl. Quick picks. I'm not going to break down a lot of craziness and all these analytical reasons why I think things are going to happen. I'm just going to say, these are the teams I think are going to win. These are where I think they're going to be. And this is my Super Bowl pick. When it comes to playoffs, we'll do a little bit more talks and predictions. With that being said, I'd like to let you guys know a few things. First of all, my name is Noah Sky. This is Blue Star Podcast. Sorry, Blue Star Nation Podcast. You can always hit me up in a couple of different ways. I'm on Facebook at Noah Sky. Twitter, we're at Blue Nation Cast. And feel free to email me anytime. Anything you want me to talk about, anything you want to respond to from the show, or anything, if you want to tell me how much you love me, you want to tell me how much you hate me, how full of crap I am, you can do that at bluestarnationpodcast@gmail.com. Don't worry, people, I am not sensitive. Okay? I love to get love. Number one thing I like to hear from people is anything they want me to talk about. But I also like to hear where people differentiate an opinion, or they think that I was wrong. Because I will talk about that as well. So, what are we going to talk about on the show today? Well, obviously, week 1's about to start. We have the San Francisco 49ers. I want to talk about the future of the Dallas Cowboys organization. I want to talk about where I realistically think we will end up this season. And, of course, how can you talk Dallas Cowboys without talking Jerry Jones? We have to discuss that Outside the Lines report they did on Jerry Jones and the interview that he had there. I'm not going to dive deep into it because if you haven't seen it yet, I really want you to go out and watch it, especially if you're a Dallas fan. But I want to talk about 2 points from it in particular. So let's get started today. I want to start off by my playoff predictions, okay? This is going to be really quick because, like I said, we have a lot of Dallas Cowboys talk to get to, so I'm not going to sit here and talk forever about it. Okay, my NFC East pick, the Philadelphia Eagles. Don't see any competition for them, unfortunately, so they're going to win this division. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is back. I think the rest of that division is overrated. Green Bay wins the NFC North. NFC South, I think the Panthers improve upon what they did last year. They lose Steve Smith, but they add some great offensive talent anyway, especially from the draft. Panthers win the South. West, I know everybody's going to think I'm crazy. I know everybody thinks the Seahawks are going right back, but San Francisco has an easier schedule. That NFC Championship showed that these teams are right down the line. That NFC Championship might as well have been the Super Bowl, as bad as the Super Bowl was. The 49ers are going to win the NFC West. So, my 1 through 6 seedings in the playoffs, 49ers and Panthers will be your number 1 and number 2. 49ers number 1, Panthers number 2. There's your first round buys. Then number 3 will be the Eagles. Number 4 will be the Packers. And then my wild card teams. Of course, I'm going to put the Seahawks at number 5. Seahawks will be the third best team in the playoffs, but unfortunately, since if you win your division, you get that first round bye. Sometimes that comes back to bite, as we saw the year the Seahawks had a losing record, made the playoffs, but still beat the Saints in Seattle. And the number 6, hey man, Drew Brees is going to have a big year. New Orleans is making it back to the playoffs. They're going to be the number 6 seed. Out of the NFC, I know this is a bad week to jump all over the 49ers since that's who Dallas is opening with, but I really think San Francisco is going to make the Super Bowl this year out of the NFC. Okay, let's talk AFC. In the East, even though Buffalo is going to be improved, even though Miami is going to be improved, the Pats are your team that are winning the East. North, this is going to be the most competitive division in all of the football this season, but the Bengals are going to win, and I think they're going to win with 9 wins. The Steelers could come up and do it, and surprise, surprise, I know I'm saying it, people, The Browns are going to be good this year. I think they're going to win 8 games. They could win 9. So watch for that. But I think the Bengals will do it. Colts are your South team. And let's see. Who am I going to pick out of the AFC West? I'll go with the long shot and pick the Broncos. Okay, you're 1 through 6. Number 1 seed is the Broncos. Number 2 is the Colts. There's your first round buys. Number 3 is going to be New England. Number 4 is the Bengals. Now let's talk wild card. To me, the AFC wild card is always more exciting than the NFC because it changes hands more often. Number 5, and here we go. Go ahead. This is going to be my first Twitter hits. This is going to be my first emails. I know that the Texans were bad last year, but their record did not reflect the talent on that team or how good they could be. The Texans will be your 5th seed wild card team. Kansas City will be your 6th. I don't care that Kansas City lost a couple of offensive linemen. The defense is still stacked. The offense still has talent. There is your AFC playoff picture. Broncos make it out into the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning wins another Super Bowl with the Broncos over the 49ers. He rides off into the sunset, waving at everybody because he retires after this season when he wins the Super Bowl. There's my picks. Hit me up. Let me know if you agree. Let me know where you differentiate. Let me know what you love. Let me know what you hate there, okay? So, let's get talking Dallas Cowboys. Where do I see the Dallas Cowboys this season? Well, I realistically think we got 6 wins. We can get 6 wins, okay? Division games, no matter what division you're in, no matter how good one team is, how bad the other team is, it doesn't matter. Those games are always a coin flip because these teams know each other so well, especially in our division, the NFC East. The ball could bounce good for us 1 or 2 times. Might get 8 wins. 8 wins would surprise me. More than 8 wins would leave me in awe. 6 wins is what I'm expecting. Okay? We have a beat-up defense. We have a really good offense. And where I think we can win games is by out-shooting our opponents. Okay? I think outscoring our opponents and not relying on our defense to win us games is the best chance we have. This defense, I'll get into this more later when I speak on Jerry Jones, but I'm concerned. I'm concerned, okay? We've had one of the worst defenses the last couple of years in the league, and in the offseason we decided to get rid of a couple of key pieces, the only key pieces we had on a defense that was not that good. And then Lee gets hurt, and he's out. So what are you going to do? Okay, but 6 wins is realistically what I expect. We unfortunately do not have an easy schedule this year, and I think that's really going to hurt us. But nonetheless, I'm going to tune in every game. I'm going to cheer, and I'm going to hope for the best. So, let's talk week 1. Who do we have this week? Well, the NFC team that I've been so high on, the San Francisco 49ers. As we all know here, the Dallas Cowboys have faced probably the most negativity and discrimination going into the NFL this year. And much of that has been on our defense. So, what happens to the 49ers this week? Well, Ray McDonald gets arrested for a domestic violence charge. And as we all know from a little while back, Alden Smith won't be playing in I believe it's the first 9 games. So at least we're going up against a team that has a little bit of defense discrimination going on. Do I think that's enough? Those 2 players being out of a defense that I think is a great defense to really help us? No. And I like San Francisco's offense. I think they're good. And you break down the coaching matchup, I'm sorry, but you have to be realistic and side with Harbaugh here. Okay? This game, what I'm worried the most about is what it can do to the Cowboys' self-esteem. Okay? Because on the one hand, we know that we're going to be in for a hard season. But when you had the preseason that we had, the horrible preseason that we had, and then you have to go in again against the team in week 1 like this, I'm worried that it can just stomp any optimism out of this team. Now, luckily, our bounce-back game in Week 2 is against Tennessee, a game that I think we should easily win. It still concerns me that we could get blown out in Week 1 here. That being said, if we can play San Francisco close and lose, I think it could help our optimism. I think it can help our team direction. I think it can help us moving forward in the season. If we by some chance win, look out. Because my whole scope on what I think the Cowboys can be this season will change if we win Game 1. Yes, I know it's only Week 1, but it is the team that I believe is going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. So that, to me, will be a big deal. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think Dallas is going to win, because I do think San Francisco will win this game. But I'm just saying, if by some chance, get ready, because Cowboy Nation is going to have a reason to stand up and scream and start yelling back at all the people who have been ripping on us on the off season, okay? That being said, I would really love if you guys hit me up. I'd love to know what you guys think the season will be. I'd like to know how many wins you guys think we're going to have. I'd like to know what games stick out to you as the most pivotal games. I mean, for me, it's really going to be the division games this year. I'm not really looking at any non-division games as being pivotal games except this Week 1 game. But, yeah, I really would like to know what you guys think. This is going to be an interesting ride this season, because one thing that I feel is going on with Dallas Cowboy fans that has been different than any other year is that I think we've had it with being overly optimistic coming in every season. We've done it for years, and we've got nothing out of it, okay? So, with that being said, I think that we're coming in this year with an attitude, okay? We're sick of the bad decisions that are being made in Dallas. We're sick of losing, and we've had our hearts ripped out the last 3 years in a row with having Dallas being right there in the last game of the season. All we have to do is win and get in, and we couldn't do it. Okay, that leaves a permanent scar if you're a fan of the team. So, this year is going to be different, okay? It's going to be different because I'm going into it going, okay, you know what? Realistically, we're a 6-win team. Is it how I want it to be? No. But I'm not going to lie to myself anymore, because every time I do that, this is what happens. The season ends, and I am so upset and disappointed, I'm ready to just write football off altogether. I even sometimes say to my fiance, always laughs, and she goes, you're not going to do that. And I'm like, oh, no, I am. I'm doing it. No, I'm not. I just need to stop saying it, because I know I'm not going to watch this team or watch this sport. So, let's talk Jerry Jones. This is going to be a little bit lengthy talk. And I promise I'm not going to do this every week or even every podcast. But if you are a Cowboys fan and you are talking to someone who is either a Cowboys fan, but especially not a Cowboys fan, the inevitable conversation of Jerry Jones is always going to come up, okay? This conversation that I'm going to have stems from where I think we're at with Jerry, why I think we're in the situations we are because of Jerry, and, of course, the Outside the Lines report they just did on Jerry Jones. Well, the first thing I want to start is by saying I am not a Jerry Jones hater, okay? I like Jerry Jones because I truly believe Jerry Jones wants to win. I don't think Jerry Jones sabotages the Cowboys. I think that Jerry Jones is a businessman, but unlike other NFL owners, I don't think that he is an owner of the Dallas Cowboys because of the business opportunity in itself. The man was already a billionaire before he purchased the Cowboys. He is a football fan. He loves the Dallas Cowboys. The problem is, I think his love and the fanatic that he is for football and Dallas Cowboys has clouded his judgment on all business decisions he has made in the last, let's just say 10 years with this team. Because the reality is there was a time when Jerry Jones was winning Super Bowls as the owner. I don't know. I'd have to do my research here. And if you know the answer, feel free to hit me up and let me know. But I know at one point Jerry Jones was the owner, president, and GM of the team. Now, my problem with that one was each one of these jobs in its own is a 60 to 80 hour a week minimum job. And when I first heard that Jerry was doing those three, my thought was, what kind of an ego does a human being have to say, hey, here's three jobs where on their own they're 60 to 80 hour week jobs. I'm going to do all three, and I'm going to be successful. There is dreaming, and then there is delusion. And I think that Jerry Jones at one time was a dreamer who made some decisions and could win. And now I think he has transitioned into full function delusion. One example that has recently happened in Dallas Cowboys history that really upset me was the $100 million signing contract of Tony Romo. Sorry, not a signing contract, but a $100 million contract, Tony Romo. Now, first of all, I'm sick of having to be a Tony Romo apologist as a Cowboys fan, because anybody who wants to argue with me that Tony Romo is not a good quarterback, I implore you to go and look at his stats, okay, since he's become a starter. He is a good quarterback, okay? I don't care what you think. I think he is one of the top 8 quarterbacks in the NFL. But do I think the man deserved a $100 million contract? No. And here's why. I don't think anybody in sports deserves a $100 million contract unless one of two things happen. You are arguably the number one at your position in the NFL, in sports, or you have won a championship by being in a leadership position in the sport. When you look at other sports, such as, let's say, the NBA, Kevin Durant signed a big contract. Kevin Durant did not win a championship yet. Kevin Durant just became an MVP, and Kevin Durant is arguably the best player in the NBA, with the debate being him or LeBron James. Kevin Durant is the face of that franchise. Kevin Durant brings his A game every game. Does Kevin Durant deserve that big contract? Absolutely. Transition over to the NFL. Joe Flacco got a $100 million contract. Is Joe Flacco one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL? No. No, he's not. But the one thing I will say for Flacco is that when the postseason comes around, Flacco turns into an amazing quarterback. And guess what? That's where it counts, people. Okay? Peyton Manning is usually an amazing quarterback during the regular season. Postseason comes, the man has a losing record. Still, if you go with the argument of being arguably the best, I think there are 4 quarterbacks in the NFL who are arguably the number one quarterback. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. Well, guess what, people? All 4 of those guys, despite being arguably the number one, all 4 of them have won a Super Bowl. Tony Romo has won 1 playoff game. The Dallas Cowboys, hurt on defense. Dallas Cowboys couldn't afford to keep the few key defensive players we had because of this contract. Now you tell me if that contract was worth it. And those are the kind of decisions that I focus on when it comes to Jerry Jones. Do I think that he thinks he's doing the best thing? Yes. But where is this board of advisors that have to step up and say, Jerry, this is not a good business decision. This is not a good decision for the future of the Dallas Cowboys. No one's there doing it because I believe they're all afraid of him, because I think Jerry will fire you in a heartbeat if you question him. I'm concerned when it comes to this stuff, okay? I watched this Outside the Lines report on Jerry Jones, and there are two things that really keyed into me. The focus on Adrian Peterson one day coming to the Cowboys, which really disturbed me because, A, if that ever happened, it would be after his contract is over with Minnesota, and I think by that point Adrian Peterson will be banged up and won't be worth bringing to another team. And B, I did that on purpose, 1 and B. It's one of my favorite things to do. And B, Jerry Jones' continuous hate for Jimmy Johnson. By the way, if you go by my $100 million conversation with non-Super Bowl winners in the NFL, Adrian Peterson got $100 million. Adrian Peterson is the best running back in the NFL. Adrian Peterson won MVP. Adrian Peterson single-handedly brought that team to the playoffs 1 year, okay? Adrian Peterson deserves $100 million. If you look at Jimmy Johnson conversation, there's a thing called the ring in Dallas Cowboys. And the ring is for players who have been extremely impactful in the history of the Dallas Cowboys organization. Jerry Jones was asked if Jimmy Johnson he'd ever consider Jimmy Johnson to be in the ring. Jerry Jones said, well, first, Jerry Jones mumbled to himself and talked to himself and was going to say something probably a lot worse than what he actually said. But he ended up saying, with a cop-out answer, I have reserved that for players and people on the field who have been impactful to the organization. I have no plans of putting Jimmy Johnson in there. That being said, if you are a Cowboys fan or even an NFL fan and you are aware of the time that Jimmy Johnson was in Dallas as a head coach, if you don't realize how impactful Jimmy Johnson was to the success in the championship, then you're delusional. Okay? If Jerry Jones doesn't think that Jimmy Johnson had a huge impact on the Dallas Cowboys organization, he's delusional. And if you're going to have this ring that puts Dallas Cowboys members that made the most impact in the history of the organization, and you don't put Jimmy Johnson in it, well, I look at that and I have no respect for that ring. Okay? Not saying that I don't have respect for the people who are already in it, but I just cannot respect the thing in a whole if you're not going to put somebody in for being impactful. Okay? Because Jerry Jones is spiteful. And if Jerry Jones and Troy Aikman got in some huge fallout, Troy Aikman wasn't in that ring yet, Jerry Jones probably wouldn't put him in there. Okay? And that would be ridiculous. Jerry Jones needs to step back and say, hey, I got an organization here that it goes back and forth as the most profitable organization in all of sports in all the world. I need to step back and be an owner. I need to let the GM be a GM. I need to let the coach be a coach. And I need to be an owner. Because when he was doing that, is when the Cowboys were at their best. And if the Cowboys are ever going to return back to the glory days, with Jerry Jones as the owner, Jerry's going to have to do this.